are live, and we'll see how today goes. We may end up having a guest join us. Every once in a while, we'll do solo versions of these because of travel or different things that end up coming up. And as Brent had said yesterday, he had some travel that was coming up. So let's see. I'm going to show everyone here how the um, how the show works as far as getting the news going. We'll just do this live so that everybody sees what ends up happening in the background. And in the spirit of not testing and just running through stuff, I do not have access to Brent's specific gem. So we're going to go back to the original one, see if we can find the prompt used for the news. All right. I know this is riveting when you get to see this stuff. All right. All right, let's turn this. Hey, Wendy. Wendy, if you're interested in joining or can join, I'm going to drop a link into our Slack channel for you and Cred to be able to do this. And I'm going to actually show live how the sausage is made, so to speak. If while I'm doing this, I'm pulling up our the shared. Here we go. All right, you should see access denied. So access denied, what that's really just telling me is we've got the gem that Brent has been using. It won't require some kind of login and authentication on his side for me to be able to access it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see what happens if we go into Gemini and just drop in the prompt for the news. And here we go. So this is a prompt that he's built up over the course of the past bit. And I'm just dropping this straight into Gemini as it is. That's a copy and paste for it. And I'm going to hit enter. In addition to that, I'm going to share this one. And in Grok, I'm going to do the same thing. And we're going to have a little bit of fun today. We're both, but what I want to do is take a look at what happens inside both of these tools. How do things change or how do things shift depending on what the tool that we're using? And you can see Grok is going through and doing its thing. Gemini is going through and doing its thing. And it looks like we've got things completed here on my side. As a reminder, we do this every Monday through Thursday live. Brent Schleinger and I go live at 6 o'clock in the morning Mountain, 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern, and share the news. Typically, I'd be the color commentator who adds components as we're going through things while Brent reads the script. Today, you guys get to see whether or not I'm able to read. So I've got the morning briefs here. Just as a quick view on this, the objective of the prompt is to be able to push out the production, act as our executive producer here, push out all of the production information including what kind of logos, what kind of graphics do we use? Now, we don't have a producer working through this in the background, so we don't change background shots. Every once in a while, Brent will do it. We're not going from wide to tight, but you can see with a little bit of prompting, and this is a very long prompt, with a little bit of prompting, you can start to get repeatable results. I want to take a look at what Grok has to say first, and then I'll move into, all right. Let's see what ends up happening. Add into the comments if you've been using any of the tools here. Um, how you if you've been using if you've been testing what you've got planned next for your test inside one of the AI tools, LLMs. The most common one, or the one that kind of hit the scene a couple of years ago and people really jumped on or seemed to jump on first, was ChatGPT. I know a number of folks who are using tools like Copilot. I'm testing with both ChatGPT, and I'll always call it testing because I'm looking to see which tools solve for the thing that I'm trying to solve for at any given point in time. But testing with both ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and have just started my test with Claude, and have been sharing some of the results that I've had with folks inside the Slack channel. Hey, Craig. Hey, Wendy. So to the news, and I'm going to do the news from the perspective of Gemini and read it as we go through. Good morning, L&D superstars. It's February 17th, 2026. I am your host, and if you haven't updated your AI prompt engineering certification in the last 6 minutes, you are basically a Victorian chimney sweep. Let's get to the news. Our breaking news today is the tech media story that's rocking the world. Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery have officially filed their proxy statements for a measure. Now, why is this important to you? Well, simple. If we can't get people to finish a 5-minute compliance video, proper ergonomics, we clearly are doing it wrong. With Netflix and Warner Brothers merging, I'm calling it now, 2027's May will be The Last of Us Fire Safety Edition. If you don't find the extinguisher in time, a clicker eats your 401k. Instant engagement. You guys, I don't use scripts. There you go, Brent. Or excuse me. Well, Brent, if you're watching, there you go, Craig. Moving to tech and innovation, the era of AI assistant is over. We are officially in the era of AI agent. ADP and Josh Bersin are reporting that AI agent or agentic AI is taking over human capital management systems, HCM. Gartner predicts that by 2028, a third of your enterprise software will be running these autonomous agents. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this, and what you can see, I'm kind of break the fourth wall here every once in a while. We've got the reference information. So I want to go deep on a specific topic. We can click on this link, get the source information, and work back through it. What was interesting is that specific source information brought me to this is beautiful. Brought me to a new Gemini prompt. How's that? Back to the news. This is L&D because agents aren't just giving answers; they're taking action. They're enrolling teams, triggering workflows, and behavior changes. Finally, someone or something to do the job that one manager who hasn't logged into the LMS since the Obama administration. We've got the reference pieces. Let's see here. Let's take a look at Josh Bersin. Yeah, what's super interesting here, at least on my version, and I don't know if this was happening on On Brent's side, again, just showing this live and seeing it work through, it is taking me back to a Gemini prompt for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why. Let's see. The We won't be clicking any of those anymore. On the human and culture front, and you can see we break the news into a couple of different areas. You saw that maybe when I pasted the prompt in there originally. On the human culture front, we have a scandal. It's called Shadow AI. New reports show that employees are going rogue using unsanctioned AI tools because corporate policies are excessively restricted. We've seen a story like this in the past on here, and we've talked a little bit about why the challenge with rolling out new technology inside organization. What I think is funny is many of us are in learning specific roles, learning roles that help people build skills, build capabilities, demonstrate that they can actually do the things that they say they can do, help make sure that we reduce risk inside our business. One of the key ways to learn is going back to the time when you're on the playground. And I don't think this is a style. Maybe Craig can correct me in the chat here. Is playing in the playground a learning style? But the importance of play, the importance of testing, the importance of being able to operate in a sandbox. We've gone through this discussion before about bring your device to work, getting connected on the internal network, risks associated with that from a security perspective. Use your brains, people. Come on. Like you can go in and you can use these tools to help enable you to do work. Don't plug it in to your Google workspace at work. Don't give it unfettered access to everything. Test in different environments. Every once in a while, you'll see me kind of poke over here, or as I'm going back and forth between in my Gemini instance, you can start to see different chats that I've got going at any given point in time. One is just gaining clarity on what does the world think my role is inside this business, as an example. So go out there, test, be smart, and have a little bit of fun as you go through. And if you've got a question, go ask a question. It's like a digital affair. Your employees are telling IT, I'm just using the approved spreadsheet, while under the desk, they're whispering to a custom LLM, please write this performance review for me. I'll give you all my data. L&D, it's time to stop the abstinence only AI training. They're going to use it anyway. Let's at least make sure they don't give company secrets to a bot named Cheeseburger GPT. For our industry specific spotlight, I'll do that one more time. For our industry specific spotlight, we're looking at the energy sector. Huge congrats to Power Grid in India for winning the Best Use of AI in Learning Award at the BW People L&D Excellence Summit. They've successfully implemented enterprise-wide AI ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning capability building in the power transmission sector. This is vital because, let's be honest, learning on the job is a great philosophy unless the job involves 400,000 volts of electricity. So I think this is one of those ones that to highlight here. In the prompt that we use, and I'm going to scroll up here to the top, it will it basically says the instruction that we give it is there should be a link in here. Okay, here we go. There should be a prompt in here that says something to the effect of SNL type scripting on the hilarious side. I'm just kind of moving through things. Yeah, here we go. Tone, hilarious, energetic, authoritative, kind of like a Saturday Night Live news skit. So we've got the AI doing the thing that we're asking it to do and following through on the side. So Finally, in authoring tools, Articulate 360 just dropped a massive what's new for early 2026. We're talking AI generated captions, enhanced AI image generation, and get this, AI JavaScript in trans, excuse me, get this, AI JavaScript entrance animations. That'd be cool if we had a little entrance animation coming in here, like the producer suggests. Articulate now with 100% more magic. You can now describe a complex JavaScript animation in natural language, and the tool builds it for you. No code required. This is great news for instructional designers who want their slides to look like a Michael Bay film, but currently struggle with making a button turn blue. Yeah, and we've talked about that one before. Imagine, yeah, it's one kind of blue that as somebody expects, but then for whatever reason, that blue isn't the exact blue everybody is looking for, even though the blue is connected directly to your branding guidelines. Someone has a different version of that blue. That's the show. I'm off to go find out which of my coworkers is actually a shadow AI agent in a trench coat. Keep learning. Taking a look at the chat just to see if there's any interaction that's coming back and forth. Not again, Wendy, Craig, if either of you are able to join, I've got a link in the Slack channel. I'll keep an eye out for it. So that's what the show is supposed. That was the show recommendation. We're looking specifically at the Gemini version. Now, let's take a look at let's take a look at um, what Grok did. All right. So kind of cool. One of the things I like about what it's doing on here, and actually, so I think I've shared this before with everybody. You can kind of see over here what are some of the things. What are some of the things that I am doing with Grok, and how am I testing? How am I playing in an environment that doesn't necessarily impact the business, but maybe impacts other parts, other things that are important to me? There's my Ping I2 shaft recommendations piece. Um, Looking at what are some different swim strokes that I could use to help develop muscle structure in different ways. And then here are the L&D morning brief. So for February 17th, live from Phoenix, where it's already too hot for micro learning modules, today's top stories. AI is straight up torching the old $400 billion corporate training playbook. Absorb LMS and the gang are dropping AI bombs in authoritative platforms. Managers are clinging to control like it's 1999. Are the real scap? Excuse me. Managers clinging to control like it's 1999 are the real skills gaps villains. Healthcare is scrambling with AI literacy training before the robots take bedside manner. And emotional intelligence is the new must-have superpower in the AI area. Um, Good stuff here. That was just a heads up so that we knew what was going on here. All right. So we've got the Grok version, similar kind of structure. Let's make sure that we've got intro music, camera wide shot. One of the things that I've gained an appreciation for, just kind of doing this with Brent and kind of building over the course of the last, we're at about 90 days. One of the things that I have gained an appreciation for is, hey Wendy, one of the things I've gained an appreciation for is how much goes into producing a show, like the importance of like structuring, orchestrating all of this stuff. I Greg, forgive me on this one, but I just thought producers were pushing buttons throughout the piece. We're going from wide shots to tight shots to planning this stuff in advance in advance, providing a little bit of coaching around both verbal and nonverbal. Tight shot on host looking shocked. So first story here was is good morning L&D, and again this is from the Grok side of things. Good morning L&D legends, rebels, occasional compliance checkbox warriors. Welcome to the L&D morning brief, your daily shot of adrenaline served with zero corporate jargon and maximum sarcasm. I'm your host, and today we're diving into why AI is basically the new coffee for corporate learning. It keeps you awake, makes everything faster, and if you overdose, things get weird. We've got 5 stories hotter than a poorly ventilated server room. Let's roll. Oh, and Craig, thank you for the reminder. Yes, producers make scripts. Um, I am not a script fan, as we've talked about previously. Wendy, Wendy, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? I
I
don't
am
know that I
doing
can get my
really
camera working. I don't think y'all can see me, but let's try again. Oh, there we
There
go.
you are. You were out by the
Good
pool.
morning. I am, well, no. I'd love to be out by the pool, but as you can see, this is the fresh morning look. So,
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for joining. I've had a problem with scripts, and one of the primary problems I have with scripts is it just doesn't feel natural. Now, I'm not an actor. If I wanted to be an actor, I'd taken acting classes. I'd gone into acting. I would have gone that route. Never did theater as a kid, and in any of the school performance stuff, it was always stuff that I just did because I had to do it, not because I wanted to do it. So Craig has given me grief for years about the importance of scripting. I see the value in it when I see Brent deliver stuff well. Um, but anyway, what do you think what do you think about this the show notes assistant that puts together our script in the morning? Any thoughts on that or any feedback on how that thing's working?
I greatly enjoy it. I really enjoy, honestly, I think more so I enjoy the SNL portion of it.
Okay, yeah,
Right, the fact that we've made it funny and, can poke holes at it, and, my husband will walk by and he'd be like, "He's not really believing what he's saying, right?" And Brent will
that's
laugh,
awesome.
right? And
Yeah,
so it gives a way for us to really look at it from a different perspective, right?
yeah,
Because we do talk about that of, being in our box and being in L&D, which can also fit in HR, and it's very important to just kind of step out of that, right? And say, hey, what am I truly looking at? What is this going to do for us? And how do we move the needle? Right. I mean, what Brent says.
it's pretty cool. To hear someone say he doesn't really believe that, does he? Because I mean, other than when I'm joking around, and I guess in this instance, I could put myself into the mode of, "Hey, I'm joking around." Um, I say what's on my mind, and it truly is on my mind. Like I don't filter. Actually, that's not right. I do filter. I do filter in different contexts. Once we get to the point where we all know each other, and I feel like, okay, this is cool. This is a safe place to be very very direct. I get very very direct, especially in
Hmm.
situations where they're intense. So chaotic situations. There's a lot of things that are going on. There's things that need to happen. There's high stress kind of thing. Yeah, from a disc profile perspective, uh, DC is where I fall. I'd like to kind of like stunt double or be an I, but
I
yeah.
don't think I've ever taken that one.
Oh, you
I
haven't
should
taken that
go
one.
take that one.
It's
I've
pretty.
taken a lot, but that's not one I've taken.
Yeah, it's cool. It's the one that's most probably widely known is the Wiley stuff, which is everything disk. If you take a look, there's a company out there, and they used to be a client early days at Catalyst. Um, Crystal. Back then it was Crystal Nose. Now they're Crystal, and they use disk to help. Their mission was to accelerate um, communication with empathy.
Oh.
And it's using all of the information that we put out there publicly to help identify a disk profile. Now, one of the challenges that ends up happening is you could, especially now with the number of tools that are out there, you could kind of trick systems and say, okay, well, this is based on everything that you're putting out there publicly. This is how you communicate, how you prefer to communicate. I'm But anyway, it's an interesting
Yeah,
one.
I'm probably more direct with
Yeah.
you. I fall into the, you know, give me the bullet points and move on mentality. And I think a lot of us do fall into that realm because we are so busy. So we just want to get to the meat of the issue. But by doing that, we miss the story. So to Craig's point, excuse me, we also miss, the scripting.
Yeah.
When we do that.
Well, and that's the other thing. That's the thing that I think has been good um, here with it too. You know, for if man, we could go all over the place if we were doing it without the script. The script helps provide some guidance, some rails, and it's always important to remember you don't have to read what's on the teleprompter. Um, so
Yeah.
you can add in a little bit in there.
And I
How?
think it depends too on what you're doing, right? Are
Yeah,
you doing a PowerPoint presentation that's, to a bunch of executives and you really do kind of want to stick to your script, right? Or are you doing a training course that's just, dynamic and virtual, or and you want that interpretation, or do you really want to stick to what you've lined out?
yeah.
Are you doing something like this that's, off the cuff, or do you really are you doing some kind of presentation for school? So I think that that can go into many different avenues of what kind of scripting and why.
How what do you think about did you and I know we were kind of doing a little bit some different things today with you being able to join on and thanks for always being here listening and thanks to your husband too for listening in the background. The what do you think about the difference between the Grok version and the Gemini version? I didn't read out completely the the Grok version. I just kind of started it. But any thoughts on just kind of the initial opening of both through Gemini or versus Grok.
As I mentioned just a second ago, I'm a bullet point person.
Yep.
So seeing this way makes me also appreciate how Brent presents it. I'll just say that first,
Yeah.
because it is not presented in bullet point format. It is truly a full script,
Yeah.
right? That he
Right.
goes through. It doesn't really stand out to me as far as this is compared. If you put them side by side, I don't know if you can put it. Yeah.
Let's see if I can do side by side in the environment. You know what? I'm gonna
That
have to
would
go
be
back and forth only because I don't think I can
okay.
share different. I don't think I can share multiple tabs from my stream at once. We'll go in.
Okay, how about you read the first opening to one and I'll read the first opening to another, and we'll see how it sounds.
Okay. So I'm gonna back in time and take us back to actually what since I already read this one, why don't we have you read this? There we go. So are you able to see my Gemini?
Yeah, I'm gonna need more coffee.
All right. You got to bring the energy.
All right, let's see if I can channel my Brent here. Our breaking news today is the tech media story that's rocking the world. Netflix and Warner Brother Discovery have officially filed their proxy statement for a massive merger. Now, why does this matter to you? Simple. If we can't get people to finish a 5-minute compliance video on proper ergonomics, we're clearly doing it wrong. With Netflix and Warner Brothers merging, I'm calling it now 2027's mandatory training with The Last of Us Fiery Safety Edition. If you don't find the extinguisher in time, a clicker eats your 401k engagement.
All right. So I will, nice work. And I will read I'm going to read breaking news. Here we go. Breaking news AI is disrupting the 400 billion corporate training market at warp speed. Josh Burson just dropped the mic. Despite dumping over 400 billion into training, L&D is stalled. 74% of executives say that their companies are missing critical skills to compete. But wait, AI first teams are crushing it. 2 times more innovative, 4 times better at adapting, 6 times more likely to smash financial targets, and 28 times more likely to actually unlock human potential. Dynamic enablement is the new buzzword, folks. AI native platforms are cheaper, faster, and making traditional content providers sweat.
I personally like this one better.
Okay. What do you like about it?
Well, it's more business oriented,
Yeah.
right? Rather than superficial.
Yep.
Because I think the other one can be seen as more superficial and not truly uh and maybe if you scroll down there's references on both, but it's not as repetitive as what we have seen in the past, I would say.
Yeah. So here's the cool thing too. I agree. So I'm gonna I was running into this. If I click on this Netflix transaction proxy, my expectation is, hey, this is a hyperlink. It's colored in the color that a hyperlink should be. I have a little icon that changes when I move my cursor over it. I can click on the button, and when I click on the button, this is what I get.
So
Yeah,
it did not pull a reference for you. It just said, I am your reference.
there you go. I am in control. Do my bidding. The it's it's pretty awesome. And then on the other side, and everybody who's joining, this is we're doing something a little bit different. Brent Shankar, the co-host on the morning show that with Brent and Mike, I guess I'm the co-host, he's the host, is traveling today, so he wasn't able to join in. Wendy, who's been on here a number of times in the background, in the chat, in the comments, since we started this, was able to join on and has come in and has been gracious enough to read part of the news as we've gone through this. If I'm in here and I'm looking at the Grok version, so this is the Grok version, and I click on the Newswire chat, it actually takes me to this specific article, which is something that was published last week. We might have covered that. Um, and I've got a friend of mine, Craig, in the background coaching me up. So I'm gonna read Craig's comments directly. So and I'm going to do this in my reading voice too, Craig, just for you. So as a good host, you should be finishing a section read, and start talking about it immediately. Bring out the highlights, talk to the high points, bring your partner in to discuss. Again, the read is the guide. The info is important, but what you think about it is the meat. So, what he's saying is that the part of the show that he enjoys and appreciates most is my color commentary that I add. Wendy, that's how I interpret Craig's comment. Is that
Yes, yes.
yeah? So it's the beauty of me showing up on here with Brent is he reads and I show up. So yeah, what I like about the Grok version of it is that are the direct links. I mean, I can go in directly and take a look at the specific pieces of information. The other thing I've gotten out of this, it's been a pretty cool learning experience for me, is the importance of structure from a story perspective. And I've shared this with a couple of different times since we've been on these in the past, but it's basically the structure of, if you're doing this and this, then watch out for that.
Mhm.
Um, and it's cool to see it come together because being a bit more direct, a bit more bullet point focused, I tend to just be like, bam, this is what you get. There's not a lot. You get it,
Well,
let's start
you
moving.
don't give much time for others to reflect. I think you just process faster,
Yeah.
right? So, but in this setting, it's appropriate, right? I mean, you don't have 20 people on a call that can share and reflect and offer their insights and thought processes, but what you give them does provide that opportunity for them to think deeper about the topic. And I think that's important on all levels.
We need to go back and we're just going to share that recording with Brent, so that he has that reinforcement come his way. Um, Thank you. Yeah, why do people so in an environment like this, one of the challenges I think is happening, this is just kind of off script here as we go in and start talking about new technology and tools coming together and using a word that Wendy highlighted, which is reflect. Are people struggling with Do you think that people are struggling with reflection today?
Yes. And that's part of our culture that we're in right now with the, speed of which we can consume information, how we consume information, video short format. It's one thing to the next, bouncing to the next, finding that dopamine hit, right? Looking for the next thing that will give them a little bit of excitement and moving on, and less critical thinking and reflection and applying it to their everyday. We talk about that in leadership all the time.
Yeah.
Is it's fine to ask the questions, what could I have done better? But if you don't actually, absorb what you're actually doing and take the time to input that and write your scripts and write your questions for employees or whatever the case may be, then you're missing the point.
That's awesome. And if you're listening to this, go back and re-listen to that piece as a leader. Like if are you missing the point, or are you actually leading, creating space to build the leadership inside your business? Give them the space to go through and say, okay, here's what we have, here's what we can do with it, here's what's next, here's what my perspective is, here's what we learned. um, what How do you help members of your team or the teams that you're around get better at that piece, that pause and that time for reflection?
A lot of it is, one, you have to schedule it, right? Especially in,
Yep.
busy corporations, you have to schedule it. And you have to schedule enough time, and, back to the old school terminology of not being the sage on the stage,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Is being there for them to support them. So asking questions. And sometimes that means, pulling up a chat GPT or a Gemini or a Croc or whatever your flavor is of the day, and saying, hey, I need to cover this with an employee. I need to ask specific questions to get them to think about their actions, their goals, right? And feed it a little bit of information before just saying, what questions should I ask my employee on our one-to-one today? Right? You got to feed it a little bit of information, but giving them that space to, just say, hey, what are you thinking about today? What's your biggest challenges today, right? And
Yeah.
that support is leading them to the next step, whether that be in, hey, I just need to vent, whether that be, I have these roadblocks, I need your help with, or hey, I need a little bit of tutoring, if you will, because I don't know how to use this tool.
Yeah.
And stopping and
Yeah.
waiting our 7 seconds, right? If you will, at least, sometimes I'll wait up to 30 seconds if they don't say anything, because I know maybe they're just processing and thinking about it.
Yeah. That quiet can be super uncomfortable.
Very. I have fidget toys. When I saw my team last, it's been a while, but when I saw all of them and a bunch of our other, leadership, I gave them fidget toys that were Harry Potter. Um,
Yeah.
oh my, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I can't remember it at the moment. The thing that you go seek. Oh my gosh, why can't I think about it? Anyway, they're metal and they spin, and I give fidget toys. That's when everybody sees me. That's all what I'm always giving out is fidget toys, to allow people to have something tangible in their hands physically, because we don't do as much physically as we used to, especially in working from remote environments.
Yeah. Very cool. Just while you're on here, why don't you share a little bit with the group, anything that you feel comfortable with sharing about what you do, what drives you, how you got to where you are.
Oh, oh, that's a loaded question. So I have been in, pardon me, I have been in learning and development for 21 years now.
Okay.
Uh, I started out as, oh, this sounds fun, right? I think we all start out that way. And that led into, I really enjoyed impacting training, what I was doing. And then that led to, I want to impact more, right? So, how do I impact more people without having 60 to 100 people in a class at a time?
Uh,
And that's when I became a designer and moved around a little bit in that regards, from design to, supporting major projects and initiatives to then becoming a project manager and owning, all compliance and EH&S material,
Yep.
to then, a team in design. And so that's currently where I reside. Is I have a team of designers, and I specifically work within AI and technology and how we implement those items within a corporate environment, and looking at, what we do today, right? The different vendors and how's that going to work in our tech stack, and why would I use it? What would I use it for? And then thinking about that from a governance perspective, as well as, across the board for all of our L&D teams where I currently reside.
How would you compare the last, let's say, 18 months, 18 to 24 months relative to technology shifts? How would you compare this last 18 to 24 months to any other 18 to 24 month shift in the 21 years? Like, how does what we're experiencing now compare to anything that you've ever seen before?
In a business sense, we used to change systems maybe once every 5 years, right?
Yep.
6 years,
Yep.
right? The business itself would say, hey, we can do something a little bit better. We're going to revamp this, and of course, training was happy because that meant we got to train it.
Yep.
But now every, even in the last 18 months, every, I don't know, I'd say probably every 6 months or so, there's a complete new revamp, right? And I'm not just talking from an L&D perspective. I'm talking
Yep.
across businesses,
Right.
because they have now decided, okay, great, look at this new technology that the business unit has decided to implement, or the organization has decided to implement, and it's change, right? It's a lot of change, and it's very fast. So we're constantly, okay, learn this new tool, great, I got the tool down, I may have had 6 months, 12 months with it, and now we're going to turn around and we're going to change the tool again because something else better came out. And so it's not just that that tool can be more efficient for our business. We have to think about that change wheel and how people go through it, because they finally get comfortable and it's changing again and it's changing again. So
Yeah.
I think resilience is going to be the biggest thing that we're going to have to focus on, as we continue to see the changes that occur due to technology. But in specific to L&D, I have looked at over, I want to say over 100, 120 different technologies that are out there,
Yep.
that make some claim in, hey, we can help you do better. We can make you more efficient. We can, get rid of this process or that process. And you have to do your due diligence, because if sometimes it might work, but more than likely it's not gonna, because it worked for them and their process.
Mm. How do you define resilience?
Not getting beat down when change happens. I mean, that's
Okay.
probably my punchline.
That's awesome.
Because it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. I'm going to have my own change stuff that's going to occur over the next 3 to 6 months, and it's going to be a lot, because some of it is in our control and some of it is not. Quite a bit of it actually is not in our control.
Control the controllables.
Yes.
It's been around for a long time. I think the Stoics
Yes.
were were big on that. So it's been around, a bit. Like that, I think that's the thing that it seems like is different is just this is that speed that's happening, like how fast things are moving and things are changing. And if I think about it, anytime where I've been moving too fast, I create this risk of burnout, just running the engine too hot. And it's important to do the thing that you had highlighted a little bit earlier, which is find space and time to reflect and to pause and to recover and to readjust. Wendy, thanks for jumping in and doing this. Since you're in here, any questions for me?
Yeah, so we've heard a lot about, your catalyst, right? But I
Yeah.
don't know that we've ever heard about what your definition is or what services you actually do provide. So if you have time to elaborate a little bit on that, I think that would be great for everybody to hear.
I'm all over the place, which is kind of crazy. So it's not super useful when you think about the importance of being really, really clear around what you do, who you serve, this type of stuff that I do with organizations. It's kind of like the shoe cobbler's kit type thing, where you're so focused on helping people see the frame in working in their business, get outside of the picture to see the frame, that I struggle with this question, or I've struggled with this question before. From a mission perspective, what drives me is helping people do the thing they want to do better and faster. And what I've found, I've had demonstrated success in being able to do that across multiple industries, across multiple roles. The big challenge is some people just don't want to do the work, and the want to do the work. There are people out there, unfortunately, who, and Craig, thanks for dropping the links in the Slack channel. There are some people out there, unfortunately, and leaders inside business who want to be perceived as people who want to change, or people who want to think different, do different, and ultimately be different. um, Being perceived as someone who does that is very different than being someone who does that. So what I do is I help people break through their challenges, help people find their catalyst so that they can achieve the things they want to do better and faster. And I do that in the context of individuals and teams, specifically in go to market and revenue related roles. So if you think about sales, customer acquisition, success, retention, and expansion, those are my areas of focus. It can branch out into operations, and has in the past, but typically the entry point is sales. And the area that I've been focused on the last, let's say, about 12 months, and have had some false starts here in the last 24 months, has been building awareness out in the marketplace around my speaking capabilities, and doing more speaking in the context of opening keynotes at conferences. I've been doing breakout and workshop type work at conferences for a number of years, and have do that stuff inside organizations, but really building out the speaking side of the business. So if you want to get better at leadership, how we move forward, revenue, how we fund the ability to do what we do, execution, how we achieve results, then that's the kind of stuff that I do. And I've been fortunate enough to work in the ed tech and emerging technology space for about 26 years now. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no,
What
thank
do you,
you for that. And that's a good context. So, what is the one thing that you would say that people really come to you and say, "Hey, Mike, I really need help with"? Is it speaking engagements? Is it aligning? What do you think that
yeah,
is?
nobody's coming to me on the speaking side yet. We've not cracked that code. So so what I'm doing right now is more outreach or outbound activities around that, sharing with people who I know inside my network that know others who potentially are looking for speakers. So some of that kind of stuff is happening. But the main thing that people will come to me, or people will guide other people to, is um is they're stuck. Like, they just kind of feel like something is not working. We're doing a lot of the same things, and we're not getting toward the thing that we want to do. So they're stuck. And if typically my way to help people get unstuck is through systems. So combination of process and tools, and those processes and tools are highly dependent on the type of sticking area where people are stuck. And the way that I do it is help them gain clarity on next logical steps that we can take them. The thing that most people will say is a superpower of mine is the ability to ask questions.
And that goes back to opening up the space, right, for reflection. So,
Yeah.
what I hear you say is that even your clients too have struggle with reflection and how to apply what they know is missing to what they know they should be doing.
People have a really hard time stopping. and pausing, right? Like, because they just want things to happen faster. Um,
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who think that work happens in meetings. And it's good to hear you laugh about it. Why'd you laugh about that?
I think meetings are not for work happening. That's not where things get done. That is where you have time for reflection to, identify risks, to put things out there that say, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about that? What systems is this, change going to reflect, affect? And that's where you can then go forth and prosper, if you will, right? On, okay, I have all the things that I need to make sure of. Now I can go actually do the work.
Yeah. And so that's why the iteration that's happened in the last, call it 90 days to 180 days inside the business, has been a more deliberate focus on communication. So how do we communicate? How do we improve communication um, with our customers, both internal and external? And one way to do that is in meetings, in the way that we operate inside that environment. Another way to do it is in words that we put on paper, or words that we put together in something that we push out there. And the challenge that we run into with when it comes to communication is there's this transition that happens between what's said, what's heard, and what's remembered. So tightening things up and getting into some of the script
Mhm.
type stuff that I've gotten feedback from folks like Craig on, and when we're going back and forth here in the Slack in the background. And thank you again for coming on here and doing this. The there are I've got a couple of different quotes that I'll kind of run on repeat, pull the string back and say it out loud. So it's a script, but it's not a paper script. It's bullet points. But the one that is resonating right now is there are things that are said, there are things that are heard, there are things that are remembered, and very rarely are all three of those the same. And but people will they
Mhm.
just kind of light up and they do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because
Oh,
when you're
watch a documentary on any kind of uh, natural disasters, right? Anything that evokes emotion, anything like that, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Well, and think about, yeah, so you get into a really good example of that, like what you just did highlight, or like eyewitness testimonials what on what happens, right? So there are things that you believe you see that are very different than what actually happened, or you might have pulled something out that's a little bit different than someone else. And if you go through and just look at do a search for and I forget the specific experiment, but it's the experiment where you're watching the number of athletes who are passing a
The
basketball.
basketball, yeah, on
and
YouTube. Yep.
it's amazing what our mind will do. And we've got to remember that everybody's mind is working in that way, shape, or form. When you think of the speed at which information is coming at us, whether it's Slack notifications or dopamine hit related to scrolling on Instagram or looking at Twitter or going on LinkedIn or whatever your drug of choice is, there's this noise that's happening out in the marketplace. So the way that you can solve for the said, heard, remembered, and how I help people do that is ask this question: what did you hear me say? And then pause. And depending on your relationship, some people are going to be offended by that. So don't be like with the nonverbal, "Oh, what the did you hear me say?" Like be intentional
Yeah.
about
You
it.
could also do the flip side and say, what I heard you say was, and
You
then
can
give them pause, right? To say, nope, that's not what I meant. You
so that's
know,
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. So on one side, it's when I'm giving you information, sharing information with you, and I need to clarify that it's what did you hear me say? And on the flip side, when I'm receiving information from someone, it's doing what you just said, which is, so here's what I heard. And there's a number of different ways to do it. And if you think about it from a communication standpoint, and I tend to use my hands a lot as I'm communicating, I use my eyes, I use a lot of nonverbal components when I'm communicating, and we all do. There are going to be different things that we'll be able to engage with. And you'll see based on motion, how engaged am I in the conversation? Am I really listening? Am I really interested? And when you share that what I heard you say thing, you can do it. You can communicate with a level of sincerity around, hey, I truly want to figure out, did this, I want to make sure that I understood what you were talking about there. But
Well, and that's the catch too, understanding versus repeating back, right? So those of us, and I say us because I'm one of these,
yeah,
I take extensive notes. I can pretty much transcript as fast as people can talk in
yeah,
normal type. And so I will literally take it down verbatim what they said,
yeah,
right? But that's not necessarily what they meant. That's
true.
not necessarily what they want to infer because maybe they don't want to say it out loud, and so we have to really read in between the lines sometimes versus what they actually said.
We do. And a lot of time, I mean, sometimes you run into it. Um, and I bring Jen's name up every once in a while in these things. One of the things that that I've got to be intentional about asking is, hey, are you looking to just get your thought process out, get your thinking out of your head and just kind of just vent, get information out, or are you looking for a solution? And sometimes that's
And,
received poorly.
and sometimes you have to ask,
Yeah, and
right?
you
Like
have to,
I've had to ask,
yeah,
are we talking through a process to get to a resolution? Are we talking through, just talking it out? Or do you just need reinforcement sometimes? Like your choices that you made were the correct choices. And those 3 pockets are very important to know where that person is.
super important. Wendy, as we wrap up, where do you want people to find you? Where can they find out more about the what you're working on, the type of work you do? Where would you like to send folks?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best place to contact me. I'm on there all the time. You can send me a direct message or, connect and follow, and I'll follow you back. I look forward to, talking more about all of these things, right? They're all very important. And as we continue on with our technology and AI, integrations and thought processes and what this all looks like, it's just going to get even more important as people come across it in different perspectives, right? Just like you're playing around with, a couple of different things on how that impacts your business, right? We're all doing that, I think, behind the scenes, so it's nice to just talk about it.
Super nice to talk about it and share. And then learn from others and kind of hear about like what are they doing with it, because there's some, it's kind of interesting, there's some folks, I think there's an interesting thing that's out there right now. Maybe this is one of the topics we get into at some point. I think there are some folks who are using the tools but don't want people to know that they're using the tools. And I think that there are some people who are, for whatever reason, and then there's some people who are reluctant to use the tools, and super, they're not, they're not really open to the idea of sharing. Hey, this is why I'm reluctant to use the tools as we go through this. So, Wendy, thanks for doing this. Craig, as always, thanks for being there in the background. We will be live again tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, and then at 10 o'clock Eastern, we have our first hackathon, and Wendy is going to participate in the hackathon. Craig is going to participate in the hackathon. You can see the links to join the event on LinkedIn. This event that we do will only be pushed live on LinkedIn. We're not going to do all of the other channels, and we're doing that really in the spirit of testing. We want to see, hey, what happens when we go in one channel versus doing it across multiple channels. Wendy, thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. I appreciate the invite. I need to work on my camera for whatever reason. It's not, actually streaming when I turn it on. At least it's not to me. It might be to you, but it's not to
No,
me.
you're right. It was frozen. And I just, just as things were going on and off so that everybody didn't have to see the widescreen version of me with nothing on the whiteboard. I kept the screen share on there. Wendy,
Yes.
I appreciate it. thank you. I'm going to end the stream. And one of the things I'm learning based on feedback from Craig is that I have to hit end this pause, like be quiet for just a second, kind of smile at the camera,
And then
and
end. Yes, because it
then let it
does
go
kick
through.
us out.
Yeah. It's this 2-minute delay that's been broken into 1 minute in Slack and all of those things. All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you.